In today's episode, you're going to get to see a beautiful 1976 Triumph Spitfire. Hello everybody, welcome to Classic Car ChitChat. My name is Kevin. If this is the first time you're coming to my channel, then welcome. I really appreciate you being here today. If you've been to my channel before, then as always, welcome back. Thank you so much for the comments that you leave for me, for the thumbs up you leave, as well as subscribing to my channel. And also don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when the next video is available. In today's episode, I have the pleasure of introducing you to a very young man. His name is Dan, and there's something really cool about young people in classic cars. He has a 1976 Triumph Spitfire. It's actually got a smaller engine than mine, 1.5 liters versus 1.8, and 73 horsepower versus 90 something according to the documentation anyway on my little MG. But the best thing about this Spitfire is that Dan has actually built this Spitfire from parts from 5 other Spitfires that he had to buy in order to put it together. So without further ado, let's hop in, let's go for a drive, and let's check out this amazing young man whose name is Dan and his beautiful 1976 Triumph Spitfire. What a beauty. Wow, Daniel. A thing of beauty.
Thank you, thank you.
And I love seeing a young person driving an old car, so that's amazing. The number of times I tell people, my car is much older than you are,
Yeah.
and in your case, it's the other way around. And
I
that's
think
amazing.
from the start I've always been into cars that are a little bit older than myself. My first car was a 1970 Cougar, so
Tell me
was
what
just-
this is.
So this here is my 1976 Triumph Spitfire 1500. It's the 76 model, so it's got the 71 horsepower over what would have been, I think, a 53 horsepower in most of the other years. So right now I couldn't tell you the paint code. It's not an original Triumph color. It was redone some point in the 80s by a previous owner. The original color of this car is British Racing Green.
Right.
And the hood is not original, so that is a red. I guess it would be like a pimento red or something like that. I've had maybe 5 of these already, so I'm getting the hang of like understanding the paint codes and learning about the cars and whatnot.
So stop right there. When you say 5 of these, like 5 different hoods that you've...
Cars in general, I've owned 5 of these Spitfires.
No way.
I'll go through how it worked out.
Wow.
This is my first one. I used to drive this car really hard. I used to drift with it and have a lot of fun where I shouldn't have with a little car like this. So at some point, I dumped the clutch at about 5,500 RPM and I split it in half. So that was kind of a wake-up call to treat this thing a little bit better. So I ended up buying another Spitfire just so I could use the transmission for it to get this thing back on the road.
Wow.
It was kind of just like a quick in the moment thing. And then since then, I bought another Spitfire just for the hardtop off of it. Another Spitfire for another transmission and engine for spares, just with low mileage. And essentially all these deals that I've got on the Spitfires were, they were just gonna go to the scrapyard. So I paid a little bit over scrap just to, show my appreciation. And yeah, what I did was I put the best parts that I could find to basically fix up my car. And all the other parts that I didn't need or necessarily want, I would list on a lot of the Facebook groups. So I would ship them overseas. I was shipping parts to Europe, United States, all over the place. But yeah, so right now I've got this car and 2 more parts cars just for spares.
And where do you do all this work?
Yeah, so most of the work I do on this car is just here in the city in Mississauga. On my channel, I don't know if we're gonna plug it in there.
Yes, go ahead, go for it.
We can, it'll be in the description, I guess. You can see a little bit of things I've worked on, and it's all been in the garage. But when I take apart the cars and store them, it's at a place up in Grey Highlands. It's up north in Ontario.
Right.
My family has a little bit of land that we basically use for like management and keeping, I like to store things up there.
Good for you.
It's better than having it in the city and having the neighbors a little bit upset having 20 cars in the driveway, right? But I do collect cars and it's kind of an addiction, but it's fun. It is what it is.
So let's go back to this then. So what drove you to the Spitfire? Like, why this particular car?
So it's a really weird story, but basically I bought a Mustang and I had a motorcycle that I never drove, and I do this thing where I buy cars and I never put them on the road, and I just like stress over the rust on them and all the work that has to go into them. And I had to sell the Mustang and the motorcycle, so I sold them both in the same week.
Yeah.
And so basically I sold those two vehicles in the span of a week, and I was looking for just something to drive around. I wanted a nice car, as you know, my first car on the road. And I was looking at Marketplace, and my budget for around $5,000, I came up with this. And I overpaid. I will be honest, I think I overpaid on it a little bit. But it's one of those things where over time I've replaced a lot of things on it, brakes, the soft top, all the engine components and stuff we'll go into a little bit later. But yeah, I don't know, I just got attached to this car. It was just a car that had a lot of memories for me. And it brought me out of a kind of a dark place I was in. I was going through some stuff, and this car really helped me. Again, I beat it up, I drove it, I really had fun with this car. I don't know if I would say I regret it. I do regret it a little bit, driving a car like this so hard. But you know, when you're a young person and this is what you have, you know, you're gonna want to test it out. Rear-wheel drive, standard transmission. I mean, not much for horsepower, but the thing weighs 1,565 pounds, so you can get this thing to slide. You shouldn't, but you can.
It's a lot of fun to drive.
It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
As long as you're being safe, you're in a controlled environment, you have permission to be in a parking lot doing this type of stuff, then, you know, I guess it's fine. Just don't be doing anything crazy on the streets, because things can go wrong pretty bad. I've seen it happen. But yeah, no, I love this car. I'm attached to it now, and whenever I see one on the market, I'm always half about to buy it. But I have to tell myself no. I say, you know what, let somebody else enjoy it, and I have my own, you know, and at some point I'll fix it up.
In some ways, this car kind of saved you from whatever it was.
Yeah, it did. I mean, cars always bring me up. Whenever something goes wrong, it's one of those things. Now with social media, you can see with TikTok and all the trends, cars are trending, and a lot of people, when they're going through a lot of issues, a lot of things that help them is just to focus their time and energy into their car and just build it to their personality. And I guess it's a therapeutic in a way to help you. Just driving in itself can be, you don't have to have a car that's fancy or different or anything like that. You can just have a car that it speaks to you, you enjoy it. If you just love driving it, that's fine. That's the way it is, right?
So when you say that you've done a lot of work to the car, you've obviously bought parts, you've replaced parts, but the body shape and everything else is the original car. There's no
yeah.
Like if we look at the front bumpers, for example,
there is nothing here. Well, actually, I'm gonna point something out that's a little bit different. So if you notice on most Spitfires, this lip will actually kind of go a little bit higher. It'll sit where that fog light is.
Right.
So the previous owner put that down as a little air dam to deflect air up to help with cooling or something. Right. And they put those little fog lights, which is pretty cool.
I like
that.
But yes.
Yeah, and then the back, if you notice on the quarter panel, it's missing the side markers, which I think looks nice. Yeah. However, this could be one of two things. They just wanted to look like this, that's a cleaner look, or these quarters have been replaced, because the aftermarket quarters usually don't have cutouts for those lights.
Oh, I see.
So
compared to what mine has over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Side lights, yeah.
So more than likely, it replaced quarters at some point.
I love your exhaust.
Oh, thank you. Those are the Monza quad tips. So for exhaust on this car, it's actually got a Triumph Tune 4-2-1 header, sports extractor, and it goes right to this, which is almost a straight pipe. There's basically glass packs as your mufflers.
So the original muffler and the exhaust system would have been one singular pipe coming out?
Yep, just one singular pipe coming into the left side, and then it goes into the muffler, and then it comes out to the right.
Oh, I see.
So it would have been right out to here.
Right.
But I thought this would be fun.
I love this look. This looks really
It's a little bit drony, I'll be honest. I've got videos to show like what it sounds like at high RPMs and whatnot. Yeah. But oh, one last thing. Yeah. This isn't supposed to be here, this black. So what happened was there was a little bit of rust in the corner, and I touched it up and put primer and some paint on it, but I didn't have the right paint color. So I took inspiration from a TR6, and I just painted the whole thing black.
It really
but it's
sharp.
It's actually a plasti dip, because I'm a fan of preserving some of the originality of it. Right. So I can always take it right off, and the original paint's underneath. just in the corner has a little touch up.
But you know what, to be honest, Daniel, I actually like the look. It gives it a nice contrast, and it
Yeah,
helps the other things
it's
pop in
different.
there.
I believe the 1972 Spitfires had this as well, the blacked out
Okay,
rear, but
yeah.
I thought it was different. I liked it.
And this is where you fill in the gas. I mean, I
Yeah.
love seeing that right up front as well, which is kind of cool.
Pretty easy. You can go from both sides,
love it,
and
yes. You're never struggling to figure it out.
never an issue.
And what about the rims, though? Now, are these
So
the originals?
these, I believe these are off of a TR7. I'm not 100% sure. I think they're off a TR7.
Okay.
But they are originally gold because on the other side of the car, there's some flaking. It was powder coated silver,
Right.
but there's some flaking on it. I can see a gold on it. So
I like that.
I like these
Actually,
wheels too. They're different, right? Because
Yeah.
the originals would have a steely with like a slotted oval shape on them. But
my uncle back in the day in England used to work for British Leyland, and he actually used to work on the Triumph TR7s. And
Oh,
I
okay.
always remember he had always, like, there's the posters and stuff like that when the TR7 came
Yeah.
out, because that was such a cool car.
they're cool cars. It's another vehicle I've looked at like to purchasing, but right now I have enough on my plate. So I
I
figured.
love also, you know what, practically when you're working on a car like this, Daniel, it's so easy to access everything.
Yeah,
because
and-
of the clamshell idea.
And you know
So-
what? Let's go ahead and
Yeah,
pop the
let's take a
hood
look
and
at
we'll
your
show the
engine.
clamshell and how that works. And then I guess after that we can go through interior and whatnot. But yeah, just simple latches, one on each side. Again, it's kind of annoying because you gotta walk around. But you just lift it from the wheel well here so you don't stress the paint, because
Right.
previous owners have been lifting from here, and what that does is it ends up cracking the paint if
Got
it's
it.
not
Yeah.
done right. But on this car, it's not a big deal because there's dents and dings everywhere. And to help with this process, I've installed two
Oh,
gas shocks that
nice.
basically lift it for the most part. And
Nice.
they distribute the weight evenly so you don't have that cracking on the
Very
bonnet.
good. And look at this. You got more chrome in here as well. Look at the accessibility though, when you have
Yep.
access to everything.
Everything's super easy to work on.
Very nice.
Suspension was all redone in around 2013. And I've been doing a little bit of, the exhaust work, a new radiator, which is twice the cooling. I'll hop on this side. So it's got twice the cooling as the original would. It's a 2-core, I believe. And I've switched off the mechanical fan to an electric fan to hopefully increase horsepower, but I don't know if that's gonna actually make a big deal or not. But originally this would have the single Stromberg, but right now there's manifold actually has with two HS2 carbs on it, which is would be the British spec, except the British spec would be 2 HS4s, which is what you have on your car.
Right.
For whatever reason, at some point it was switched up.
Switched over. Yeah.
So I think in the future I will go ahead and put the HS4s on this, but there's a lot of things I gotta work on with this, because the way the fuel is running, it's basically boiling the fuel over
It's
the
heating, yeah,
intake,
yeah.
and when it's coming to here, it's gonna start bogging down, right?
Right.
So
Now
that's
this, the new, is that yours sort of addition? You added the new sort of chrome cap on that?
so this is actually just original. It's the paint sanded off and
Oh,
polished.
Good for
That's
you.
all that is.
I love it.
So the problem with that is there's nothing preventing rust from getting on this. So every
True.
once in a while you gotta
You
sand
gotta
it
keep
down.
clean. Yeah, that's okay.
But eventually, I might polish it or do something nice to it. But yeah, and of course it's got the little pancakes, the chromes. You'll see it on this
I
side.
like it. Oh, yeah.
The pancake filters. They're not the best for controlling cool air going into the engine. You're basically putting the hot air back in, but it looks really
It
cool.
looks good. I
And
agree.
there's a little bit of a heat shield. I went with the polished stainless steel actually. Aluminum probably would have been a little bit better for this, but you can kind of see the 4 to 2 to 1 headers behind it.
I love it.
They're already discolored from all the heat. But yeah, I think that's about it under the hood. Just basic maintenance. Other than that, just gaskets and
How much space do you have in the back?
in the trunk.
Yeah.
Well, here, let me cover up the Amazon packages with the addresses on them. But
It's not
you
bad.
got room for your jerry, your
Yeah.
oil, a little bit of extra coolant, tonneau cover,
Yeah.
a full-size spare,
Okay, you actually keep it there.
yep,
Yeah,
and
good
a
for you.
full-size fire extinguisher because this is
Wow.
Triumph. But
Okay.
there's a lot of space back here. Like for what it is, for a tiny car, it's not too bad.
Not too bad, yeah.
And
And you use this car a lot. Like you drive it.
I used to
rain-
almost daily this car to work
for
and
you.
back, but I guess recently I got a daily driver. Not recently, maybe in 2018, I got a daily driver, and I've been driving this thing pretty much only just as a second car. I maybe get 2,500 kilometers a year out of it. I really don't drive it too much, but I do enjoy it. When I do drive it, I drive it pretty hard, so
You enjoy it.
Yeah, oil changes every 1,000 just to be safe. And I don't know what oil you're using on yours, because you'd be in the same boat as me probably, but do you run diesel oil on yours?
No, I don't.
I'm running diesel.
Are you really?
Yeah, I heard, I've been reading stuff and they're saying it's a little bit, there's more dinosaurs in it, you know, you got more zinc and stuff that you need for these old cars. So I figured, yeah, I'll give it a try, and it's been working out fine for me. But
now the seats look relatively new here.
they're not too bad. You'll see there's some scuffing and scraping in the back. There's like a little mark there, and then lower underneath it's a little bit torn, but overall they're not too bad. I think they're original, but not to this car. They're original upholstered, but from a Mark IV Spitfire. Very with
nice.
the high top. On this car it would have been basically like this, but the headrest would be separate from it.
Very cool.
And this is not original to this little dealie here.
Yeah.
This is actually supposed to be reversed this way, and there would be little pads for your knees there. But by switching this the other way around, you get maybe another 2 inches of room.
Yeah, yeah, very good. And nice to see a cigarette lighter in there. I mean, that's old school.
Yeah, you gotta have that.
Now, where's the ashtray?
Right up here
No way.
on the dash.
Isn't
with
that something?
straw wrappers I didn't clean out. But yeah,
Beautiful.
it's not too bad. Aftermarket wheel.
Yeah.
It's a little bit peeling from a lot of use, but
That's lovely.
yeah. And of course, you have to have music in this car.
You
so
do.
aftermarket
so what is
stereo.
that? Is an aftermarket
That's
thing?
just I think it's just a Pioneer, you know, just a cheap deck on it. And then we got.
what I haven't actually seen is the original radios that came with the MGs.
I have one original radio for this car
Do you?
actually.
I'd love
Yeah.
to see what it looked like, because I haven't seen one. And you've got your speakers.
My
back
favorite
there,
part,
too.
the subwoofers in the back.
Look at that.
They're not the the biggest,
You
but
got
they're
sound,
they're
yes.
fun.
Really nice, Daniel.
Thank you.
Really,
thank
you know what? So you know a lot about the car. Like, are you a mechanic by trade? Like, how did you learn so much?
No, I basically learned everything off of YouTube and what my dad taught me just growing up.
Oh,
Because
that's amazing.
we've always been the types to try to figure things out ourselves. Save yourself a couple bucks here and there, and then from there it just became like, oh, this is actually kind of fun to do. So then things like this became a hobby.
Right.
Whereas like on my daily, obviously when something breaks down, if it's serious, I'd probably have to go to mechanic. Like, there's no shame in it. You know, if you don't have the time, if you can afford to, you go to mechanic, you do what you gotta do. But a lot of times, like with this car, I have the space, the time to tuck it away, so I'll learn it myself. A lot of people have told me on YouTube I haven't done things the right way always, but you learn.
You do learn.
And that's the thing. You just gotta, you don't take things personally. It can be constructive criticism. And yeah, you figure it out. Like, I installed these shocks upside down the first time around, and I was told, and then I fixed it. You know, it's
exactly.
You learn. You know.
You do. And that's amazing. That's the whole part about this. Is it is a hobby. It is creative. You learn along the way. You do make mistakes, but you know, it's all part of the learning curve. And every time you do it, you hopefully shouldn't make the same mistake again, right? So you get better at it.
Yeah.
But now the windshield itself looks in pretty good shape.
It's all right. It's scratched and pitted as it would be for the age, but no cracks and no bubbling, so that's good. I did have to replace the top because the top was torn up, and there was a little bit of repairs were done to it, little stitching, but it was just one of those things where I was like, I might as well just do it right the first time and have it done right. And actually, when I had this top on, I was folding it for a whole year incorrectly, and I've been messing up the windows on it. Because there's a lot of videos showing how to do it, but when you have it folded up, you should ideally have your windscreen folded this way, so you can actually see this plastic outwards. And the way I was having it done was
I fold mine inside.
Yeah, so with the mechanism.
Yes. So
see, I was doing that.
This is the last part that you would see, but you're saying that's incorrect.
Yeah. So the way you would have it is, there's these little snaps inside on the inside rail. I see people do it all the time. They don't undo those snaps, and they fold the whole thing in, and it creases it, and it creates these little dents. I guess they flattened out a little bit over time.
Right.
But yeah, I only realized that recently. So a lot of these things you
kind of learn.
It's little quirky things over time, right? Like, I'll admit to my mistakes, but I wish I learned a lot of this stuff a lot sooner, but
you know, at
it is
least you
what it is.
use your roof. I don't even do that. If the weather looks crappy, I don't drive. So
I used to drive this, like I said, almost like a daily. So I would drive this in the rain, not snow. Obviously not.
Snow, yeah.
It wouldn't go anywhere in the snow, but yeah, I would drive it in the rain, and it was fun. Again, you get a little bit sideways, not even trying, so it's a little bit dangerous.
Yeah.
And these little tiny wipers don't do much, but
I was gonna say, but they work on the washer works as well. Like does
oh
it,
yeah, it all works. But the washer is actually one of the funnier things. You kind of just have to pump it by hand and just keep squishing it.
Right on.
Not
there's a lack of pressure in there. You
yeah,
just gotta do it.
basically, this is your little wiper fluid bottle actually. But
Good
yeah.
job though, Daniel. Like I am so impressed, and I'm just thrilled that to see a young person like you getting into this hobby. I mean, this is when we were kind of talking before. This is what I was trying to encourage and promote, is to really think, you know what, for a few $1,000s you can get a little car, you can work on it, and it becomes a bit of a project for you, your family, and everything else.
And that's the thing though, like a lot of, like even myself, I used to think having a classic car would be unreliable, there'd be a lot of issues with it. But for the most part, I will be honest, the only things that have gone wrong with this car have been my own fault. Like, this car is not meant to be driven the way I was driving it, dumping the clutch at 5,000 RPM and bang shifting gears and doing crazy stuff. Like, obviously the transmission in this car and the clutch are going to be a weak link, as well as the diff. But for the most part, everything's been fine. I haven't had anything mechanically go wrong. That's a lie. I did have the brake master go out one time. So I drove
That's a big one, yes.
That's a big one. I actually, I didn't have time to fix it, so I drove to work. No, I probably shouldn't say that. Definitely, I didn't drive.
I didn't drive from the video, yeah.
No, it's all right. But yeah, 2 weeks off the record. 2 weeks I actually drove this to work and back with no brakes, and I would stop by downshifting.
Yes.
And just put in the handbrake when I got to the first gear.
Not
the safest thing, but
the best way
I had to make money, right? Yeah. But anyway, back to the car.
Yes.
Yeah, so other than the brake master going out, nothing else has gone out on the car without my hand at play in it.
Right.
Everything's been fine with it. You know, knock on wood. Let's find some wood. There, the dash.
There we go. You got the dash.
But yeah, no, I love the car. It's great. I encourage anybody at any age that if they can, enjoy one of these cars.
Why not?
Even if you have it for summer for a year and you get rid of it to somebody else to enjoy it, like the thing is, it's going to be hard to throw away a car like this because you're going to get attached to it. I'm going to be honest. But if you can, by all means, get an older car. It's a lot different. Like I will be honest, a newer car has a lot more luxuries that this won't have, but it's just more fun.
It is fun.
I don't know, something about this and driving it.
You can always add on the Bluetooth afterwards, right?
Yeah, you can always add an aftermarket radio if you're tired of AM. I don't even know what this came with, to be honest. But yeah, no, there's a lot of great options for classics. Even 90s JDM cars are really great, but things like that have great markets for them. Like even this car, they still make parts to this day. You can buy brand new body panels, quarters, anything. Yeah. But
which again, I think most people who aren't aware kind of think, well, where am I going to get the parts and all this?
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily more expensive than anywhere else either. So
yeah,
parts are available, and yeah, I mean, I encourage anybody, take a chance, get something old and give it a try, and you'll get so much pleasure out of it. And plus you turn so many heads as you drive around the streets because it's such a unique car.
Right? It's a different experience driving this because you stand out, and in a way, it's almost safer because in my daily, it's just a regular Hyundai Accent.
A regular car, yeah.
And I've been...
no offense to Hyundai.
No offense. I love the car. It's been reliable. But people don't notice it. And I've been just rear-ended sitting at a red light and random stuff. Mind you, 3 days after I got this car on the road, I was pulling out of a McDonald's parking lot. And I got rear-ended in this.
No.
Just a little bit. But these big rubber bumpers actually saved me.
You. There you go.
It did more damage to the lady's car that hit me. But, you know, she was apologetic. Accidents happen. And we just went on with our days. But I was a little bit scared because this is a little tin can. So I was thinking 5 mile an hour crash. This thing's totaled. But I guess those 5 mile an hour bumpers somewhat saved this. But yeah, no, these cars are great. I encourage anybody to go ahead with them. And again, it does help to have a lot of friends that help you with these cars, because I've had friends come over and spend hours working on these cars. My friend drove me to go get this car, and there's a lot of help in the community too with the Spitfires. The people, basically everybody in the community with classic cars, they will help you like beyond like what you would normally
You're not alone.
expect.
People go out of their way. I've
Yeah,
noticed
that's
that
what I'm
too.
trying to say. People go out of their way to help you, and it's good to return the favor too.
Definitely.
You know, but
Good. Yeah. So having said all that, do you think we should take it out for a drive and see what she drives like?
why not?
Let's do it.
Start her up.
Okay. Oh, has the ignition always been down there?
Yep, it's always like down here on
Not
these cars.
here, not in the front.
Nope. I believe on older ones it would be on the dash, and the newer ones I think it's on the column. I'm not 100%
Yeah, like
sure.
mine's on the column. Oh, it's got a nice sound though.
It's not bad. It's a little bit loud,
Yeah.
but don't mind the chain hanging here.
No,
And
it's
that was
all good.
Dave and Buster's prize from one of my first dates with
It's
my
worth
girlfriend.
a fortune.
Exactly.
all of 59 cents probably.
And how much did it cost to win it?
Oh,
Probably.
I know, like probably 50 bucks.
At least. Oh well, it was fun.
So again, standard 4-speed transmission.
Yep. It's got 389 gears in it, so it's not tall gears, but not exactly the best for the highway with the 4-speed. But so what do you think is the best route to go?
We'll go left
Just
here.
go left, because I think it ends there, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. We'll go left there, and at the stop sign up front, we'll turn right.
Okay, perfect.
Now, have you always driven a stick?
Yeah. For the most part, I learned on my dad's van, which was an automatic.
Right.
And then I learned standard just on a whim. I had a buddy of mine, we went and bought a Civic for about 450 bucks. And we took it up north and we learned how to drive standard on that.
Good for you.
We figured best do it on a car like that.
That's a forgiving car too.
Yeah,
Like, it
not
doesn't-
something like this.
I like your exhaust though.
Oh, thank you. With the hardtop on, it's a little bit drony with the exhaust being the way it is, but for the most part, it's fine. Like when you're top down, which is when you mostly drive it, it's pretty good. But it's a lot of fun. There's a little bit of noise, like some growling coming out of the transmission. When I pulled the transmission out of the car to get this thing back on the road, I didn't change the transmission fluid. So it was sitting in a barn for 10 years with old transmission fluid. I put it right in because I was too, I guess, I just wanted to get in the car right away.
Sure, and you want to get it going.
Yeah, these speed bumps are crazy, I remember. Or these train tracks, I believe. They become speed bumps.
They do. Which is your favorite shifting? Like I find in my MG, going from second to third, I got so much power compared to any other gear.
I think third to second is the best, just because of the sound. So for this car, it will backfire if you're high enough in the RPMs.
Really? Okay.
So it does a little bit of a burbling. So that's my favorite.
Yeah.
And again, back in the day when I used to slide this thing, second gear was where I'd keep it.
Yeah.
Third gear didn't have the torque. First gear was just, there's nothing
just
left.
get started, yeah.
It's just to get it going.
Yeah.
Do you know if Main Street's open?
It should be.
Because
So
that would be a really good, there's turns there,
so
right?
I'll kind of guide you. So we'll keep going straight, and then we'll turn right up ahead. I like the sound.
It is, it's
It's
different.
got a good sound, yeah.
These cars, I don't know what it is about them, but they have a different sound to them. Almost it sounds like kind of like a B series Honda or even a motorcycle in some cases.
Yeah. So we just go straight.
Yeah, interior wise, there's nothing crazy done to it. The only thing I'll complain about is recently my TAC only reads to 3,000.
Okay.
I can hear the RPM going past it, but I don't know what I'm going at. As long as the speedo works, I'm okay for now.
Yep.
But I will get that fixed eventually. And
your fuel gauge works too? That's fine? Sorta?
Sorta.
Yeah.
So in the middle here is empty and this is full.
Okay, well
After
I
it's
got the
full.
same problem. When mine's 3/4, it means it's full.
I'm waiting on a new gauge to come from Europe.
Yeah.
But for now, I just gotta eyeball it and guess.
In my case, it's not actually the gauge. It's actually the sensor in the tank itself, which is a bit of a headache. So
do you think going straight or go down
just
that
go
curve?
straight. The visibility is great in this.
Oh yeah, no blind spots at all.
Well, you know what? In the MG, there's a big difference in that this bar, when you're at a traffic light, you can't see
Gets
the
in your
traffic
way,
light. It is
right?
completely. And my rear view mirror was the biggest headache, so I had it mounted lower, just so I could see.
okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't mind with this one. It's not in my way.
It's
at
actually
least.
excellent. Yeah.
Do you had a roll bar on yours, right?
I do.
Does that get in the way at all?
No, not at all. You don't even notice it's there.
I thought about getting a roll bar, but then I'd have to figure out my speaker situation. I'd have to change
Okay.
that up. And I chose music over safety.
Yes. The challenge is one faces, right? That's a nice sound. I do like it.
It gets better, but
We turn right on Ontario Street.
with a 40-kilometer-an-hour speed limit,
Yeah.
there's not much you can do.
Plus, you get a little bit of reverberation off the buildings too, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah, exactly. But on the twisty roads, this is where this car is a lot more fun.
Yes. So, are you a member of the Spitfire Club?
I'm not a member of anything like officially. I'm part of the Facebook groups, but
Okay.
that's about it.
Right.
I don't actually come out to a whole lot of meets. It's just
You should try and do that.
Yeah. The thing is, everything's always usually it never lines up with my schedule. On the weekends, I always have something to do, and then I can't go with the cars. And then during the week, if you know I have a spare time in the afternoon, then I'll go out with the car.
So the
'Cause I'm-
Malta Car Club has a meeting this Sunday, weather
Okay.
permitting.
Yeah,
So I'll send you the details. If you're free, drop by.
for sure.
Like you see some other car lovers for sure, and you'll see all kinds of cars.
Oh yeah. That's why I do love going to meets. It's just I haven't been to so many, and a lot of the meets I go to is a lot younger generations.
Yeah.
So all the cars there are going to be a lot newer. You
Yeah.
know, like you have the Mustang groups, the Camaros, all those guys, and a lot of JDM cars.
Right.
And I do like JDM cars too, but
So we turn right on here.
Main Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know if you go left, it's a really good curve, but then it's just like nothing. From
There's
after
nothing
that.
afterwards.
It's
After the
just
curve is
straight.
nothing.
Mississauga Road's like the best.
That is the
road where
best.
I did that video. That's actually the best for
Yeah.
this. But it would be good if you had a day to just film from the outside
For
and
sure.
whatnot. But
No, I noticed that on your videos that you're doing, you're kind of walking them through. It's a little bit of jiggling around with the camera, and plus you're using your hands and everything else.
yeah,
So
it's
that-
not the most.
That's hard though. It's not easy to do. Like here,
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I have a gimbal,
The
so at
good-
least we kind of stabilize a lot of
Yeah,
it.
but with my videos before, the older ones, what I had is I had a buddy holding a gimbal with a Sony A7 Mark II,
Right.
which was like just my camera that I was shooting with.
Yeah.
And those videos are a little bit more stable.
See, you get the attention, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was a lot more stable with that camera setup, but now I've been using the phone and got a little bit like lazy because it's just I don't have the time sometimes to film. So
The phone is a little bit easier.
It's a
sometimes,
lot
a bit
easier.
practical.
but it's just for me I need to get a little stabilizer
Yeah.
for it. And just
How's
slow down a
the
little
how's
bit.
the clutch control? You getting used to that and
It's
adjusted to
good.
the car?
It's a new clutch.
Yeah.
So well, new as in it was put in 2019, but less than 5,000 kilometers on it.
Okay.
So it's new to me.
Yeah, very good.
But yeah, no, the clutch is pretty good on this car. It grabs. I mean, without gas, you can take off. If this car wasn't bogging out from that fuel issue.
Okay.
But yeah, I like the clutch on this versus my daily actually. This is more forgiving. Definitely a more forgiving clutch than most
Right
other
on.
cars.
And the brakes seem to work now.
The brakes work. Yeah, I put a new master in there and bled the lines. I left the front brakes because they were pretty good,
Right.
but I ended up replacing the rear brakes. I had the e-brake return spring was actually fell off at some point.
Okay.
So it was wearing out the right side. It basically was always driving with the e-brake on.
Okay.
So I ended up fixing that problem, and now we're good.
But you're not a mechanic, like you've kind of learned a lot
No,
of
I
this thing
just,
along the way.
if I have a question, I just go to YouTube for the most part and just figure it out. Or I do have one of those manuals, the, I don't know if it's the Bentley one, I believe it is.
Right.
It'll actually show you how to do everything.
Yes. You definitely feel all the bumps though, right? It makes it makes it interesting.
It's a
for
little
sure.
bit of a lower car, so you're gonna feel it. And I noticed, depending on your height, you might actually be able to grab the road as you're driving. It's that low. And actually, from experience, this car will fit under an 18-wheeler's trailer.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't worry, I measured it
Yeah,
first
yeah, okay.
before I went under. But I had a video of that somewhere, but I lost it.
Oh my God.
Me just going like 2 kilometers an hour, paranoid under a parked trailer, but it's okay. Closed course.
Your engine sound is lovely.
Thank you. It's that exhaust, that Monza, there's
Yeah.
nothing holding it back. It's almost a straight pipe.
I like it. I like the sound of that. It's got that growliness to it.
Yeah, a little bit raspy,
Yeah.
but it's fun. And
turn
Barbara's
that
right
down.
here. And the best part about this car is you can rev it out and do whatever you want and you're never breaking the speed limit.
True. 0 to 60 in about 8 days, right?
Hey.
But it's just fun to drive.
Oh yeah.
Give it a windy road and you're happy.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun when you get to actually open up on it. 40-kilometer-an-hour roads are not for this car.
Exactly.
Maybe they are with the speed that this thing is capable of, but